All right, Ivan, how are you today?
Very good. Good day, mate. How you doing? What's the crack?
Not too bad, not too bad. Back at work?
Back at work, back to regular life. There's a few incidents in the office apparently with close contacts and everything. So we have been told not to go to the office for a few days. So
Oh, really?
yeah, I have been also spoken with a few friends that also in their own companies there's something similar going on. So I guess all these side effects from the Christmas festivities.
Yeah, well, that's right, that's right. A lot of people are a bit angry, let's say, that there was no restrictions at Christmas time, and the government basically just made people wear masks outdoors. They didn't limit any social activity, which is what some people are complaining about now. So you have to wear a mask outdoors, but you can have a party with 50 people, or go to a disco with 1,000 other people, right? So it doesn't really
Yeah.
make sense what's happening at the moment, but. Let's not get too political,
Yeah,
Ivan.
it's getting a little bit dystopical with the measures when you actually put a little bit of thought into it. Yeah. Let's move on.
Well,
Como,
well, well, well. The fact of the matter is that the infection rates over Christmas and
mm,
were very very high. I think 300,000 over the weekend. People reporting that they have COVID. So I mean, we're
that's what they were saying.
we are in
Yes.
the middle. That's it. That's it. But
Yeah, a
anyway,
couple of cases of people that I work with that they have been, well, at least tested positive anyway. I don't know if contagious or whatever it is, but they say that they are pretty mild in that sense. So, that's
yeah.
a
Well,
good thing. They
that's
have been insulated at home. So,
yeah.
I guess the good thing is that it's not having that much of an impact in the numbers of deaths like in the first wave. So I think that yeah, I think there's reasons to be optimistic in that sense. So
That's it. We can only be optimistic, Ivan. That's exactly right. And if people do catch COVID and it is a mild flu or a cold, which is in my case is what's happened, then
mm,
obviously there's nothing to be worried about. But again, we can see that some people that is not the case, and they do end up in hospital. So we
exactly.
still have to be careful, I think. But anyway, so now what did you want to talk about, Ivan? I think the driving licenses from the UK, there was an extension.
Yeah, exactly. We have a tweet from the UK embassy in Spain. It was on the 28th of December, and you know what that means on the Spanish calendar. But apparently, I have contracts that information, and apparently it's true. So apparently, the Spanish government has extended the grace period for residents driving in Spain using a valid UK license. So basically, until the end of February, the UK licenses will still be valid here in the Spanish territory.
Yeah, okay, good. So the 28th of December is the equivalent of April Fool's Day. So
That's
the
it.
Spanish government or the British embassy published that on that day. So some people thought it was a joke. But you double checked it, Ivan, and it is actually true that there's an extension. This is what, the second or third extension now or something, is it?
I think so. I think so. But the reality is that it's kind of like a little bit of plaster, really. The thing is that you can, it's kind of like a grace period, as they said on the tweet.
Hmm.
It's not really like a fair exchange or like a recognition of the license of the other country. But I
Yeah.
guess those kind of bilateral agreements or things go in a much greater scale. So it might be taking a little bit of time to get everything
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
place,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, because
But
obviously the best scenario would be that there's a direct exchange between a UK license and a Spanish license,
that's
which
it.
is
That's
what
it.
happens. Which is what happens with various countries. But of course, that means that the two parties have to sit down and they have to make it reciprocal. Of course, it has to work on both sides, and there are some
Meet in the middle
problems
is
with
called,
that.
yeah.
Sorry.
Meet in the middle, basically. Yeah.
Well, meet in the middle. That's right. That's right. But technically, it shouldn't be too difficult. I mean, in Australia, it doesn't happen. With the US, it doesn't happen because in Australia, probably you know this, Ivan, that every state has a different driver's license, and that's also what happens in the United States. But in the UK, it's a UK driver's license is valid for the whole country. There's not a separate one, as far as I know, for Wales or Scotland or England, is there? No,
it's not. There's only different pound notes in Northern Ireland, in Scotland, not in Wales, as far as I know.
That's it.
But the driving license is still the same.
That's right. So in theory, it's a fairly easy process, but it's a serious inconvenience if you can't get that done, because there are so many people from the UK living here that have been driving on their British license for a long time.
Indeed.
All of a sudden, that British license is not, well, it's not going to be valid in a few months' time. So you either have to get it exchanged, and then if you don't, you have to sit a Spanish test. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah, you have to basically go back to the driving school. That's what the Spanish DGT, like basically the DVLA of Spain, is saying, and that's basically personally what is happening to me with my motorbike driving license. There was another message in the previous ones when I was mentioning about renting a car and everything. There was this lady, I think Julia was her name, or at least the name that appears in YouTube anyway. I was asking where is my license from when I rented a car. My driving license for cars is Irish, like Republic of Ireland Irish, while my full motorbike license is British. So I took the test and I did everything in the UK, and then everything Brexit happens, and now I'm. You are possible, obviously, to rent the car with a British license until this grace period expires. I think as a visitor, probably with the international driving license will be okay, and that's what this lady was mentioning. That for her it was going to be much easier to and also save money flying back to South Africa and renew her international driving license and then come back to Spain than going through the whole process, because also the price of the driving school here in Spain.
Well, I did it, Ivan. Obviously, my Australian license is only valid for 6 months when you become a resident here, and you have the international license for that period. And I did go through that. I wasn't driving very often, so I did, renew it every time I went to Australia because I didn't have a car. So, but I think that's technically illegal to do that for a long period of time. I went through the driving school process here, and it is an inconvenience, but.
Is it very different in your experience, or what you learn in the Aussie driving license? Aussie driving school than the Spanish driving school?
Yeah. Well, basically, when I got my license, we're talking decades ago now, back in the 1980s. It was a similar, there was a 30-question test that you had to do. Plus, you had to go out with a driving instructor and do a driving test as well. But the test in Australia, and I think this is still the case, it's a lot more common sense driving than just the set of rules and regulations, which is what happens in the Spanish driving test. So, you know yourself, Ivan, that the Spanish driving book is about this thick, more or less, and it's just rule after rule after rule. And whereas the Australian one, it's a lot thinner, and a lot of the questions are based on common sense. And I've spoken about this before, but I'll give you an example, right? So in the Western Australian driving exam, there'll be a question like, you're driving along the freeway and you come across roadworks. What do you do? And one of the three options are do the window up so that any debris doesn't come into and affect the driver. So you get rid of that one. Slow down to the signaled speed. Fairly simple. Or step on the accelerator and get out of there as quickly as possible. So what do you do?
I guess I will go for the B.
Exactly. Whereas here in Spain, the same question will be slow down to 60 kilometers an hour, slow down to 50 kilometers an hour, or slow down to 45 kilometers an hour. So what do you choose?
Yeah, you're right. That is very, very true. They are a little bit redacted or written in a way to basically try to catch you. And And
Exactly.
I guess it will be very, very difficult for you, because that is very true. In the Spanish exam, also, it was quite a while for me as well when I did it. But there are certain things on the answer that it could be just the difference with a preposition. So it's not even about the actual driving rules. It could be about your comprehension of the actual question and the answers,
That's
what
it.
makes the
That's it.
difference. So, yeah.
That's true. That's true. So, I mean, it was difficult. I did it in Spanish because I thought I read that the English translation wasn't very good. So, I studied the questions, and basically, I got the idea that it was a memorization process of memorizing as many questions as I could, and then when you go into the test, you hopefully you get 30 questions that you're going to get 27 right, because you can only get 3 wrong. So
Yeah, what I remember is doing quite a long like demo test of those exercises,
yeah,
and then
that's a practice test. That's it.
exactly, practice test. Thank you. And then probably after, I don't know, 20 or 30 practice tests,
Yeah,
more or less,
yeah,
there are different blocks with different questions that they
that's
tend to
it.
repeat themselves, maybe different
That's
writing
right.
or the other way
But
around,
you're
but pretty much
memorizing.
the same.
But
Correct.
you're memorizing the tests, Ivan. Right. So
Yeah,
so
there
you're
was a
not.
certain extent of memory involved, that's for sure.
That's it. That's it. That's it. And then the funny thing is that, and I mean, it happens everywhere, not only here, is that you see people driving with the L on the car, and they always seem to be the ones speeding. So as soon as they get the license in their pocket, they're in the car, and all of the rules and regulations go out the window, in one ear, out the other. But anyway,
Exactly.
there's not much
And
we
as
can
far
do.
as I remember, when you have the L, actually, you have a lower speed limit, let alone a zero
I
point
thought I
0.0
thought I
alcohol
thought that's the
limit.
case. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
case.
It is. It is the
And
case.
and speaking about alcohol, did you would have done your test in Cantabria probably when you first got your driver's license, right?
I did, exactly. I did it in
Okay.
Santander.
So, but I imagine they're all similar because it's like a national thing. But the one here in Madrid, in Móstoles, the funny
Yes.
thing is that there's a coffee shop at the center, right? So you get there at 8 o'clock in the morning. You go in and have a coffee, and they sell alcohol in the coffee shop. It's a typical Spanish bar. So there's people there having the Sol y Sombra, which is like a coffee with a little
Workers'
bit.
breakfast.
Exactly. Before they do the driver's test, I'm thinking, why would you sell alcohol at a driving test center? I mean, it's crazy. But anyway.
Good appreciation. That you know what remind me of straight away, like when I was in the UK, one of the obviously during the main roads, the M1, the M4, whatever, they have these service stations, and they have different contracts for different service stations. So apparently, when I was over there, one of the headlines was that Weatherspoons won one of these big contracts for service stations, and
To
basically
turn it into a bar.
well, to do the catering and everything. But obviously, if somebody that doesn't know what Wetherspoons stands for, is basically a
It's a
cheap
pub, yeah.
alcohol bar. You relate to Wetherspoon when it's like cheap, maybe cater food is maybe not the best culinary services, let's say, but it's definitely no music, no entertainment. It's just cheap pints, and
Yeah.
you put this kind of thing on the service station that is literally in the middle of a highway. What do you expect? So yeah, one of
Well,
those things.
there we go.
It happens
That's it.
everywhere, I guess.
That's it, I suppose. Now, another thing you wanted to bring to the table today, Ivan, or talk about is a few comments from last week.
Yeah, there have been a little bit of a comment from our previous video that goes to show how big your community is, and well, I want to present my apologize first of all. I
Well, we
never
got our history facts wrong, didn't we?
there was a few things wrong. I checked it afterwards. Yes, the Portuguese island of the species is called Moluccas and is currently what we know as Indonesia, not in the Philippines. And yes, Spain went to the Philippines. We
Yeah.
will not say discover this time. We'll try to be more politically correct.
That's right. You
In
have to
that
be
sense.
careful what you say nowadays.
But
That's
yeah,
right.
and, as I said, I do apologize. I think I haven't said my motto for quite a while, Stuart. So, as I usually tend to say at the beginning of our videos, my current opinions might not represent my future opinions. So
Oh,
there might
that's right. Yeah, you haven't said that
one,
for a while. That's right. Yeah, that's right. You
there might be one.
maybe we should have maybe we should have said that before the last one. But anyway, I mean, we're not historians, and I think the map that I put up was actually back to front. It showed the Portuguese division of the world in the Spanish area and the Spanish area in the Portuguese. But anyway, we stand to be corrected. So yeah. So sorry.
No, no, it's just good to show that there is a little bit, and obviously it was an informal chit chat. I didn't prepare anything that day, and sometimes I prepare different topics, but it's not like I have a script or anything like that, and it's mainly a friendly chat.
Well,
So yeah, I'm very
well, the
happy that
thing
there
is,
is people out there
well,
that knows about these things, and if they are
well,
interested, obviously you can dig more about them. So
Well,
that's
that's
good.
right, and I'm waiting for some of those critics to start up their own YouTube channels so that we can go on there and write comments about what they have to say. That would be a good idea as well, but I don't think it's going to happen. No, but like I said, we can talk about whatever we want, and if we make a few mistakes, so be it. I mean, we don't pretend to be experts in everything, and more or less, you were telling a story which was not 100% correct, but it was in the same area, of course. And whether it's the
I try to do
Philippines
my
today.
best. Exactly. I never
Sorry?
claim to be a historian. I really like to
No,
know about
that's
these
right.
kind of things. And yeah, as I said, I'm very grateful that people that know more than me about these topics correct me. And if there is somebody else out there that find this interesting and Spanish history in particular interesting, I totally encourage you to go out there and find some more documentation. And if there is any
Well, that's
of
right.
these
That's right.
little stories that I might say pick your interest,
That's exactly
go
right.
for
That's
it.
exactly right. But we're all here to learn, and that's it.
Absolutely.
But nitpicking would be the word that comes to mind. But anyway, now there's also another comment that you wanted to address. Was there, Ivan?
Yeah, exactly. There was a one for, well, quite a few weeks back, but I didn't have one of those FAQ sessions yet. So, and that one was quite interesting. It was from Ivan Jaén. Hola, Tocayo. So basically, he was asking in the process from moving from the UK to Spain and regarding the pension plan and tax-related documents. Okay, he mentioned that his pension plan is with the Scottish Widows. Do I lose that? It is quite of a process to come back. When I understand, Ivan, that you are Spanish as well, that you are working
I
in
don't.
UK, I imagine.
I don't know if Ivan is Spanish. I think he might be from South America. I think I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. So, well, obviously, I can share my experience and what I learned during the process and things that I don't learn and maybe I found the hard way. You mentioned your pension is with Scottish Widow. Let's start with the last bit. Scottish Widow is a private provider. Okay, so by no means you are gonna lose that. Okay. Depending, talking about your public pension pot in the UK,
State pension. Yep.
exactly, state pension. Thank you, Stuart. Depends how long you have contributed. Basically, how many years you have been in the UK contributing
Yep.
with your national insurance and all your tax deducted from your pay slip. It will happen basically if you have some rights to claim some state pension in the UK or not.
Yep.
Transferring at the moment, I don't think that's the case. Okay. And when I was in Ireland, there was a form. Also, you have to have a minimum number of years that you have contributed or you have worked in those countries, member of the EU, in order to transfer your pension contributions, let's say, to the next country. Okay, I don't remember exactly which one is the name of the form that I fulfill in Ireland. I can try to have a look into that one. But definitely in the UK, when I moved from the UK, Brexit already happened, so there was no way that I can try to move those contributions. On the same way as you, with the Scottish Widows, I have a private pension plan with Aviva. And that, I think that was a good thing in the sense that the UK forced employers, I don't remember exactly the year, but I remember it was a change in the legislation while I was over there, that they forced every single employer to offer a private pension plan to all their employees. By default, you are enrolled into this scheme. So basically, you have to proactively said I want to opt out of this scheme to your employer. So that will help, I guess, in a sense, to build up your pension pot for the future. So I think the best thing that you can do with your private pension plan is keep it invested. Double check with the Scottish Widows if you are leaving the country, if there is any way that they can move your money to another pension scheme overseas. I guess because talking about a pension scheme, you will need to prove that it comes attached with certain things, like you cannot access that money until you are retired, blah blah blah. So if that happens, that you can transfer your UK pension plan to another provider, it will have to have something in similar terms. I know that the UK pension plans with the Australian pension plans and superannuation, you can do movements like that. I have heard about that. I haven't gone too much into detail. And I don't know, Stuart, you know a little bit about that one, but I know that that is something that you can do. But again, you will come back to agreements between countries in order to do that. At the moment, and where we stand after Brexit, I don't think you cannot do much with that one, unfortunately, Ivan.
Well, I think just going on to that point there that you mentioned is that you mentioned Australia and the UK. Obviously, there's a relation there, and there are a lot of people when they retire go down to live in Australia, of course, because it is, I think, the second destination for British people when they move to another country. So there's a relation that the two countries have sat down, as you said before, and they've come to agreements about pensions and all of these things. Brexit, as you just mentioned, is only new. So the British government is scrambling with different things at the moment, trying to make agreements with how many countries around the world. So obviously they're not going to have an individual one with Spain yet, like with the driver's license, but obviously people are working behind the scenes to get these things sorted out, because the sheer weight of numbers, and this is what I think is always going to be in for British people living in Spain or people that want to come from the UK and live here, is that there's so many British people living here that it is a big, powerful lobby group. And they can, force political change maybe faster than a country that doesn't have such a big group, if you know what I mean, Ivan. Yeah,
so. And in this particular case, talking about UK and Spain, also Spain is I wouldn't say that it's like the first immigrant group or nationality in the UK, but definitely there is a fair bit of chance. And we are talking about maybe British community in Spain. We are talking, mainly 40 plus, 50 plus, while maybe the Spanish immigration in the UK
is younger.
Is younger, maybe more in the working towards the UK system rather than enjoying.
Let's be honest. Spanish people go to
wrong,
but historically, Spanish people have gone to the UK to work. UK people have come to Spain to retire. That's the way it's worked.
So I guess it's in both interests to get these things ironed out at some point.
Exactly.
Touching good, it will not be too far down the line, but I guess it's in everybody's benefit.
Yeah, it's interesting the point that you make there about you have to have put into the system for a certain amount of time in the EU. I think that's also true in Spain. Here, I think you don't have access to a Spanish pension unless you've put into the system for 15 years. So it's you have to have worked in the country for a fair chunk of time to be able to access a state pension.
Correct, and we must not forget that at the end of the day, this is life. This is a living matter, the retirement law, and we should not forget that this has been changing in every country that they have changed the retirement. The age they have extended, the way that they do the maths to tell you how much you are entitled to, it has changed in both in three, in Ireland, in Spain, and in the UK. So depending what age you are, maybe by the time that you are actually entitled to retirement, the law might have been totally changed, and maybe those years that you have been
Well,
working abroad, they don't really matter anyway. So,
maybe that's right.
if you are a
Yeah, yeah,
citizen of
yeah.
the world, that I consider myself one of those, I think you should take things into your account, as you had these Scottish widows that you were mentioning.
Save for your own pension. That's it.
Correct, correct. And I guess when you are working in different countries, state pension schemes change quite a lot. Life gets complicated. Take
Yeah.
your own responsibility, and make sure
Mm,
that you
mm,
have
mm, mm.
a plan of your own without
Yeah,
getting,
yeah, 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 yeah,
any
yeah.
other thing that it might come from a different country. Just take it as a bonus. And again, I am not a financial advisor by any means of imagination, but in my
Okay,
experience,
we'll put that out there. That's it. Yeah.
make sure.
But the thing that you mentioned there about the Scottish widows and the one that you had, Aviva, that was something that the UK government brought in to similar to what the superannuation in Australia was. It where the
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly, but I think in the well, correct me if I'm wrong. I think in Australia, the money that goes out from your pay slip goes into your superannuation, but there is other contributions to the government by itself, or there is another state pension, or there is no state pension and it's only superannuation.
Well, again, I'm not an expert because I haven't been there for a long time. But the majority of people rely on superannuation to retire, and the state pension is there for a backup just in case your superannuation plan doesn't work out the way that you planned. Okay, but the government, and again, somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but the government's been pushing hard on people to prepare for their own retirement. By forcing, a certain amount of money, 12.5%, whatever it is, from the worker, 12.5% from the company, every month obligatory to go into a superannuation fund that is on the markets normally, and that money theoretically grows and you get a good retirement. However, as we know, some people don't save as much as they can, or for whatever reason they're unemployed, and obviously there's going to be a state pension for people if their superannuation plan doesn't come to fruition, let's say. But unlike here in Spain, where you put all of your eggs into the state pension, basically, or a lot of people do.
There's not much of a choice, really. It's just coming out of your pay slip. So
yeah. Well, that's what. Well, there is a choice, but it's not a very good choice, unfortunately, for a lot of people. The private pensions, no.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, leaving the legislation aside, that, as you said, is not very attractive. It's not like you can decide, okay, don't worry, government, I am not going to contribute to your state pension, but I'm going to contribute to my own. I will take things into my own hands, and I will be the only responsible for this.
You can't.
There is no such a choice, exactly.
No.
In the UK, as far as I know, you don't have that choice. What I thought, and obviously somebody will correct us in the comments below.
Of course.
In Australia, I think you have that choice, or at least, whatever you contribute is towards your superannuation, put with your own name in there, and off you go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you do put money towards I mean, there is money that goes in taxes, of course, and those taxes are there just in case, that safety net, as they call it. Because as I said, not everybody gets to retirement age with a livable superannuation scheme. Okay, so they're going to have to depend on the government for whatever reason. Some people don't, but the idea is that everybody is as self-sufficient as possible when they get to retirement age, rather than the system that we have in Spain, which, as I said before, there's no choice. Basically, you put a huge amount of money. I mean, you see your pay slip every month, Ivan. You know how much goes into that state pension, and you're hoping, and I'm going to use the word hope, that by the time that you get to the age of 60, probably when you retire, Ivan, it'll be 71. So by the time that you get to the age of, I don't know, 65, 70, whenever it is that you retire, that the government is going to have the funds to be able to fund your retirement, which they have been able to do for the past 2 generations, or however many have been in this scheme. But sorry?
I'm going to say something totally honest, totally brutal, and probably I'm going to be slash about it, but please don't cut it when you edit this video. I have no hope whatsoever that my generation is gonna get any money from pension from the Spanish government. And if you push
Yeah,
me,
but
probably not from many governments, you will be in a position to get many money out of that.
yeah,
To be
but
honest.
yeah, but again, I think I spoke about this with Johnny a couple of weeks ago. That you're putting your money into that system with good faith that politicians are going to give it to you there when you retire. And as I said, two maybe three I don't know how many generations have lived off the pension system here in Spain, but I don't think it hasn't been around forever. It's it's only a
And this is when
it's
the disclaimer of the brokers tells you, past benefits don't ensure future benefit is the same
well
thing.
exactly,
And
but
and, and one of the things that when you mention you put money with the hope that you get that money is like, well, that is a little bit misleading in the sense that basically the workers that put in money, at least on the Spanish system, and I'm not sure about the others, but
yeah,
the
it's for the
one.
people that are retired now. I
Correct.
know,
It's
yeah,
for the people that are retired now. So there is not a
yeah,
pot with your
no,
name
no, no,
somewhere.
no,
So
no, exactly. But this is the point. So you're putting into a system. Okay, now we could talk about this for the next
yeah,
2 hours, but the previous generations have developed this system where a certain amount of workers are paying for the people that are retired. Okay,
correct.
and we all know about the inverted triangle, and
Population. Yeah.
there's more people retired at the top, and people in this country tend to retire early. We all know that, and the government's constantly changing those calculations that you said before. So instead of 26.03, it's 27.01, and it's instead of 32.5 years, it's 33.3. They're always making these changes to the calculations. But as soon as a politician in Spain or any country says the system's broken, there's not going to be a pension for you. There's going to be a revolution because people have put their
Yeah.
faith into this system.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Totally.
and again, I'm not going to say that the Australian system's better or worse. It's also an experiment when it comes to pensions. But a politician back in the day, I think it was in 1990 or maybe the late 80s, said that the Australian pension system is not sustainable at the current rate. We have to do this if you want to guaranteed retirement. And people jumped on the boat. They accepted that. Of course, there was opposition at the time, but and it's worked out well for some people. Whereas here, as far as I know, Ivan, no politician, whether it be from the left, from the right, from the centre, has said that this system is not sustainable. In fact, we hear the opposite.
It is quite sad, but yes, as you have described, the political consequences of saying that such a thing out loud, and yeah, it will be catastrophic for whatever party. It doesn't matter who. You will make sure at the end of the day, the retired people represent. And sorry, let me put it in a better way. The public staff, the public employees, and the retired people represent a huge group of voters that no government will be willing to
No.
anger,
No.
even though the
Yeah.
reality and all the macroeconomic indicators say otherwise. But nobody is gonna take the chance to get anger,
No.
and nobody will do that. Yeah,
No.
I
That's
totally
exactly
agree with
right.
that. Sadly as it sounds, that is the reality that I perceive as well.
Well, that's it. Well, anyway, on that note, we'll start to wrap it up. We've been going for a while. Good speaking to you again, Ivan,
Good
and
as always,
I'm
Stuart.
sure we'll get some feedback on the comments today. But
I just
we'll talk next week.
I expecting a storm of comments this time. Stay
All
safe,
right, great.
Stuart. Ta-da.
I will. Bye-bye.